En este camino de los emprendedores sociales son un ejemplo a seguir. Y Lisa LANNON es alguien que realmente, además de conocerla desde hace más de 16 años, es una autoridad porque no solamente dice, sino todo lo que dice ya lo hace. Y entiende perfectamente bien cómo ayudar a miles de personas. Ella es una emprendedora social de la cual debemos aprender muchísimo. Así es que no te la pierdas.
Welcome back, you guys. This is Blair Singer, one of the members of the Rich Dad Advisor team. As you know, talk about teams, sales development, personal development, and we've talked several times in this conference, but it's a real special treat for you guys to listen to and learn from these other members of the Rich Dad Advisor team. It's Josh and Lisa LANNON. You may know they wrote a book called Social Capitalism several years ago. But of all the members of the team, these are the guys that actually, if you want to look at a model of how to go from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant, this is the model. They've done amazingly well and doing the right things for the right reasons and making a lot of money doing it. So if you see a need in the world, and right now there's plenty of them, and you want to make some money doing it and help a lot of people doing it and create some passive income doing it, these guys are the great models. And not only are they great entrepreneurs, and I'd say almost the purest entrepreneurs on our team, but I would say that they're not only are they great entrepreneurs, but they're great teachers. Not so much of standing in front of a room, and demonstrating and walking the talk. So I'm just going to share my screen for a second to just give you a framework on this before I completely introduce them. So if I share my screen, we've talked about, through this conference, we've talked about this right here, the cash flow quadrant. The cash flow quadrant. You guys can see that, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, good, awesome. So again, what we know about the cash flow quadrant, one of the things, part of the Rich Dad message, is that a lot of people, some of you may be right here. Some of you may be considering going right here. But there is a very, very big difference between this side of the quadrant over here and these guys over here. And what Josh and Lisa have done is they've successfully taken the migration from here to here to here to here. So if that's of interest to you, you're in the right place. And basically what they did, real simply, is they followed this, the BI triangle. So you've heard Garrett, or you will hear Garrett talk about legal, and you hear me talk about sales and communication, Tom talk about cash flow and taxes, team and leadership. But now you're going to hear how it all comes together. How it all comes together, and that wherever you are in this quadrant, that there's hope for you yet. There's hope for you yet. And these guys are just great friends, and they've been great mentors to me as well over the years, and just watching them grow. I mean, and right now in these crazy, crazy times, their business is booming. And it's booming. It's good for them, but it also is a statement of what's going on in the world today. So I'm just going to unshare this and come back to these three guys and these two guys. And so thank you guys for being part of Divergentes. Again, Alfredo and Rosana, thank you guys for allowing us the opportunity to talk about how to make the invisible visible, which at the end of the day is what great leaders do. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, Josh and Lisa. Thank you for being a great partnership. So tell us a little bit about how you came across Rich Dad real quickly and how you got on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And first, I mean, thank you, Blair, from taking the invisible to visible. So like Lisa and I would not be here if it wasn't for you doing that exact same process. And we studied your books, still have it in, pulled through and pull lessons from it all the time, multiple books that you have. So you took your knowledge, you took your experience, and you made an artifact out of it. And then that artifact, shared it with others. A lot of times the people that you've never even met didn't even know that you impacted. So it changed our lives. I just want to say I'm absolutely honored to be here, teaching with you, our mentor, It's been a great journey. We've been doing this, since 2001, but we're also just getting started. And just honored to share the knowledge with you and on this conference, and just appreciate it so much.
Thanks.
Lisa.
Yeah. I also want to say thank you to Alfredo and Rosanna for having us here, and everyone that's watching, that's taking your time to learn and grow and implement whatever it is your greatest ideas are. And yeah, thank you, Blair, to you as always. Agree, we would not be where we are today had it not been for your teachings as well. You make us better teachers. So thank you, and we're excited to share what knowledge we have.
Awesome. Well, thanks. So you guys actually started in the E quadrant, right?
Yes.
And so talk about that a little bit. How, so because a lot of people out there sitting there like, well, I know I need to be an entrepreneur because right now being an employee is the highest risk position on the planet. And so what do I do? How do I go there? So maybe if people understood, and again, it wasn't like you jumped all the way over to the B quadrant right away. There was a transition, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we both started in the E quadrant. I grew up with the belief many of us have is go to school, get a good job, my mom was safe and secure job with the government, so I went into law enforcement. But growing up, I always had these questions. Well, who owns that building? Who owns that business? How do you do that? And I had no mentors or coaches. It was just other employees. And it'd be like, well, rich people own that. And it's like, well, how do they own it? And how can I do that too? It was always just a question. I always just loved looking at buildings, but still followed the path because I didn't know how.
Right.
Yeah.
And so and you went into law enforcement, right?
I did in Las Vegas. And that's where I met Josh there. He was working nightclubs.
We can make up a great story about how she pulled me over and all that stuff, but it wouldn't be true. Go ahead, Lisa.
So I would go into the nightclubs with my girlfriends. It was a country nightclub, and we would dance, and that's how we met. Josh would send over the waitress and say, the owner wants to buy you drinks, and I'd be like, well, where is he? And she would say, oh, I don't know, he's busy. And so for a year and a half, I never knew who Josh was, but he would send me drinks. And I would say he was stalking me. That's kind of how we met.
Now, hold on a second. Oh, I worked for my father, so I was an inspiring entrepreneur. And to be an inspiring entrepreneur, I had to do market research. So the market research is send over drinks to the good-looking girls. Lisa was my top pick.
Good marketer.
Yeah, I'm marketing. I'm selling.
That's
because
awesome.
I'm selling up for sure with Lisa.
That's awesome. So then you guys get together, and so tell us about how you embarked on your venture now, because right now you have a very successful business, making a lot of money. You sold your first company for a lot of money. Went back into business to do it in an even bigger way. Tell them what your business is and then how you got into it.
Mm-hmm. So our business is Warrior's Heart. So that's the name of the business. That's the brand that we created. And that is a drug and alcohol treatment center that services U.S. active military, veterans, and first responders, being police officers, firefighters, EMS, those that are on the front line. And we've been in the behavioral health field for, 18 years now. And this is a particular niche that was underserved. So we built Warrior's Heart in 2015. As you mentioned, we sold our previous company to a private equity company back. It was Fraser Healthcare back, and that was in 2013, Lisa?
13. End of 13.
End of 13. So in 15, we built Warrior's Heart, and we partnered with Tom Spooner, fantastic partner, retired military. And what he shared with us was that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And that number just didn't even sound right. It's like, how could that even be? Well, sure enough, it is. It proofs out. So breaking it down, it's like, well, what's killing them first? And typically, they're either high or drunk when they make the final act. So we have a background in drug and alcohol treatment. We know how to help guys get sober. So we thought if we attack that first, chemical dependency, we can actually lower the national suicide rate for our veterans. So this is a huge social problem in the United States, and something that we took on, and it's working. We're doing it. It's not easy work, but it's working because we've taken the BI triangle, the rich dad principles. We've used these tools, implemented it into real life application, and it works. It proves out.
Awesome. So let me just define a little bit. So again, you guys took on a very, very big need, but you also had a very big passion for it because of your own background, right? Because again, part of that BI triangle is the mission, and then the team, and then the leadership. So describe how that mission came about.
Yeah, and I'll start at least, and then if you can add to it, is that prior to this, our mission, as an employee, how I was taught, really growing up, traditional school system, everything is get a good job. Well, first get good grades, then get a good job, right? It's like, I didn't want that. Like, that was boring. Horrible. But the mission was to make money, right? So you take that into business, and typically it's like, okay, the business has to make money. That's the mission. It's like, no, that you're missing the point. The mission, that's a byproduct of doing a good job. The mission has to be bigger than money. Otherwise, we would just be, like I would just be trading one addiction for another. And you've mentioned a little bit about the background is I struggled with alcohol in 2001. Lisa gave me the ultimatum, said either you go to rehab tonight or I'm going to divorce you. And it was a lifeline I needed because I was drowning, and it saved my life. So once I got sober, started studying Rich Dad, and found this new passion to learn because I wasn't interested in what they were teaching me in school. But now I was like, this is something I'm interested in, is that the mission had to be bigger than money. Otherwise, I would just be now addicted to money. $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $1 million. And it'd be like, I'd get my hit of adrenaline, and then it'd be off to the next thing. So no longer was I going to work for money. And that's Rich Dad's rule number one. The rich don't work for money. I was like, oh, makes sense.
Right.
Yep. So going back, how we made it visible is, once Josh got out of rehab, we knew he could no longer go work in the nightclubs again. It'd only be a matter of time. So we knew we had to do something different. And because we knew what the family went through, what the loved one went through, we thought, well, let's build our own treatment facilities. Let's help others. Let's be in service to those who are out there suffering. So we found a mentor, actually the owner of the facility Josh went to, and finding a mentor is one of the best ways to build a business because you're learning from someone who's already been there and done that.
That takes the invisible to visible. We didn't know what we didn't know. That mentor had already been there, done that. So we got a coach. We got a mentor.
Yeah, so we started our first facility in late 2002, 2003, and we grew to 6 locations over the course of years before we sold it to in 2013. But it took a lot of time, a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes, as we know. But it's like, how can I take an idea in my head, no matter what it is, and make it visible? And that BI triangle is a great way. If you just go through each section, okay, what do I need here to make whatever it is visible? It's a great stepping stool, a great guide.
Well, go ahead.
Well, that process we went through, we went from, I was running nightclubs, general manager. Lisa was in law enforcement. We went to being self-employed. This is before we built the team. We saw that we could do it better than other treatment centers were doing it. We had the good idea, right? All right, let's do it on our own. And knowing that we had to build a team for a solid business, we had that in the business plan. So we started building the business, hiring the team, and each one of these has their own context, their own ability. How much can you hold? Like as an employee, I didn't want to be responsible for another person's income. That was the owner of the business's job, not mine. But going down to self-employed, it's like, well, hold on. If you're going to start to build a business, you're now responsible for other people's livelihood. That is a huge contextual shift. Like, no matter what, you have to pay your employees, whether you make money or not. You pull it out of your savings if you have to, but you got to pay them. That's the right thing to do. So then contextually is like, if you're a self-employed person, you say, well, how big is my context? Do you employ one person, 5 people, 10, 100? It's like, ooh, I don't want to be responsible for 100 people. Okay, good. That's just where you're at. There's nothing wrong with it. But to shift over to here, it's the contextual shift of now you have to be ready for up to 500 people, 500 livelihoods, 500 families that you're going to take care of. And how to do that is to build a big or a business that has the 8 integrities within the BI triangle. This is a huge contextual shift.
So if I just summarize, so you're saying the contextual shift is going from just being told what to do to then going on your own and then deciding that you're going to be responsible not only for yourself, but for somebody else. And then the number of somebody else's that you're willing to be responsible for or to direct on that mission is the shift from going from S to B.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, because I can be good here, but to make this shift takes leadership training. You no longer go from, hey, being the leader of your family to now being a leader of your community, which is your business. It's leadership training.
Absolutely. You know, as Blair says, it's what's going on between your left ear and your right ear. That's really where that contextual shift has to happen, because as a S, as a self-employed person, you're running everything. When you hit that B business, you have to rely on your team to manage it, because you can't have your hand or, you know, your body physically in every single department and every single aspect of it.
And if you did, you'd be a micromanager. You'd be an ass anyways. You know, empower your team.
You become a liability to your own business.
Yes. Well, and that's something that we learned through trial and error, is that I'm really good in startup. Like, I can get that flywheel moving, but once it gets moving, I need to then empower management, give them left and right limits, and then step back and let them run it. Because I'm a startup guy. Like, I love taking the invisible to visible. I love seeing something that's not there and building it. But once it's built and ran and starting to run, then that's when I need to step back and have that team come in. Because if I don't, then I just overrun it and I run it into the ground, because I'm always in startup. And it's having that experience, because it's happened a few times, that it's like, okay, it's now time to step back. The team has got it.
Yeah, you know, but what's interesting also about what you said is that the creating the team, you said a few minutes ago, was part of the plan. So not not just building a team because now you got more work to do that you can't do by yourself. But you guys are saying, both of you are saying, is that the plan was all along is we're going to build a team. So the idea was the mission was something bigger than you guys foresaw that you're going to be able to do by yourselves anyway, right?
Yes. Yeah. Our mission is warriors healing warriors, and our vision is to bring 1 million warriors home. It's like, how are you going to do that?
Now, explain what you mean by bring 1 million warriors home.
Because
it's important. I think people don't understand the breadth of that mission.
So when our warriors go overseas, for example, our military, they leave home and they experience some very traumatic events. It's horrible. War is horrible. The stuff that they see and do. And then you also have our law enforcement officers that put on the uniform and serve our communities. They go out in the communities, and unfortunately they see horrible things too. Like, if there's a 911 call, my daughter's drowning in the pool, they come. If there's a car accident, they come. It doesn't matter who you are, they will come and serve. And there's horrific things that they see and do. So when they leave their home and go do that, a lot of times they get stuck in that traumatic event. So when they come back to their physical house, they're not really home. They're still stuck in that, and they see the faces, I mean, all of it. So when we have a warrior come to our program, that's the first thing we do is we welcome them home and we embrace them. And you could see it in their eyes. It kind of like, well, it doesn't make sense to them mentally, but spiritually it does. And we've started the process. And we've had guys afterwards go, man, that was so impactful. I get it now. I'm home. I'm finally home, physically, mentally, and spiritually. It's a big deal.
So you guys, so basically you have a facility, and you're opening other facilities, right? And these guys come, men and women come, and they live there for a while, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have all levels of care. So detox, you know, some alcohol and drugs, we require a medical detox for it to be safe. Then they enter a 42-day residential program where they live in the facility for 42 days. And then afterwards they can step down to sober living, where the best way to describe it's like a halfway house, but it's not a halfway house. They still have rules and regulations, but they're integrating back into into the community and outpatient therapy. So we currently have one location. We are building 40 more beds on site, as well as we just bought a motel that has another 42 beds. So we're expanding. We're also looking at property in North Carolina. So we have this tremendous growth because we have a waiting list. And when we talk about 1 million, bringing 1 million warriors home, that's our 10-year goal. And if you do the numbers, it's not going to match out over 10 years. So how do we bring that to the visible? Well, it's through other programs. Every crisis call we handle. We just started a Warriors Anonymous. So like Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a Warriors Anonymous. We have no control over that. We give them the guidelines. They take the meeting back to their communities, and they start to serve other warriors. So it's not all through us. It's taking that idea and spreading it through grassroots effort.
Yeah, your mission.
Mm-hmm.
So again, just and describe a little bit about let's go back to the personal finance side of this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, clearly there's the need, and clearly wherever you are watching this thing, is that there, you don't have to look very far to find need in your community. So it's not, the thing about Josh and Lisa is they want to do the right thing for the right reasons, and also make good money doing it, which is what they've done. Now, but your financial model is textbook rich dad. So talk about the property and the way you guys have set up your financials.
Yeah, let me draw it up here, because to your point, what you just said is there's a reason why cash flow is here. It's on the bottom line. It's not the mission. The mission is the foundation. So we built the mission off of what we just shared, our passion, our purpose. But the business has to cash flow. Otherwise, it's not self-sustaining.
Right.
Like, it's a good idea, but it's not going to get off the couch.
This is not a charity.
It's not. And we're not just a fundraising company that, just goes out and has pom-poms, and then very few dollars actually get to the front line.
Right.
We want it to be sustainable and profitable. So if we look at the model here, we have, let's see, Warrior's Heart. This is the operation. And we have the property, real estate, RE. We've set up the business that this is one entity, legal entity. This is another legal entity. And we formed it with Garrett. Brilliant on how it was set up. And what happens is our operation leases from the real estate. So the idea is, in a rich dad fashion, is how do we make our money? It's through passive income through the real estate. So we're not drawing a paycheck over here. I'm not the CEO walking around with seven-figure, position and all the flashy bonuses and all that stuff. It's taking from the company, my personal opinion. How we do it is, if we want to make more money, we have to serve more people. How do you serve more people? You acquire more property. What's the property going to do? More beds, more jobs, addresses the social problem. And then that income flows down to rents to us personally. So you have to be generous in order to be rich.
And
That's a very big concept, and you sit on top of that one, Lisa. I mean, that's kind of your specialty in the thing, right?
Yeah, so I have a property management company that oversees all of it. And Josh and I have never taken a paycheck from the company. We've always worked for free. We volunteer, and people, it blows people away when we say that, but it is through the real estate. And the beauty of it is it's fair market value rents. They're not inflated, so we make all our, like a paycheck through real estate. No, it's fair market value. And when we sold our 6 locations, Journey Healing Centers in 2013, they took over the lease because it was fair market.
So you still own the real estate, right?
We did for a number of years. We finally ended up selling them, but we did. We held on to the real estate for a number of years, and then it was like, okay, it's time to fully move on. So we sold that asset too.
Right. So again, just want to pause here for a second, maybe go through it one more time, because this is, for a lot of people, this concept just jangles their brains, because it's not, first of all, clearly none of this is taught in school. That's an understatement, or in business school or any place. But in light of the rich dad philosophy, the rich don't work for money. You work to get the asset, the real estate, right? So you need the real estate to house the business. And so again, go through it one more time so people can understand it really simply. I think it's profound.
So our business is Warrior's Heart. It could be any of your businesses. Say if you have a business that you're leasing the property, you could be the landlord. So if you have a business that you're leasing a piece of real estate, you have a physical location, that could be you. You could be the tenant and the landlord. So that's what we are. I'm the tenant, Warrior's Heart. Lisa is the landlord. She owns the real estate. We have a lease agreement in place, and then out of that, we pay the mortgage, and then the passive income flows down to us. And it can be, again, set up for any business. Principally, this works in any case if you're leasing or own property. Your business can pay for your real estate.
Right. So again, there's other forms of real estate too, besides actual physical property. Can you speak to that?
Go ahead, Lisa.
So other forms of real estate, like there's intellectual property.
Exactly.
Like all of your knowledge, Blair, everything you teach is your IP you've created over, however many years.
Right.
There you go, right? So again, these are assets. They generate passive income. This houses intellectual property, okay? The real estate, the actual property houses their business. So again, it's a formula that most people don't understand. But one of the reasons that Josh and Lisa are here, this is totally invisible to most people, completely invisible. And what they're making visible to you is one of the secrets of the rich and how you can do it too. So if somebody's sitting there in the S quadrant or the E quadrant and they want to get going on this, what would you tell them? What are this? I mean, you've kind of gone through the steps: mission, find a mentor, follow the BI triangle, build a team. Mm-hmm. What else? What would you tell them, or just highlight some of that?
Well, if you're wanting to get started, if you're starting brand new and you have an idea, the big thing is what's that goal? What do you want to do? And then you break it down into manageable sized chunks, because a goal can be overwhelming at first. Starting a business can be overwhelming. So it's like, okay, what's one thing I can do today? Or what are a couple things I can do today to get moving forward? It may be, the legal entity. It could be talking to your banker. It could be, just starting that business plan. Could be finding a mentor, getting your team. Could be a number of things, but it's like, just start that process. And the BI triangle is a great way. Okay, what's my mission? Who do I even need on my team? Who are the leaders? What kind of cash flow do I have? And you can break it down section by section off the BI triangle.
That's an important part that Lisa says. First, you have to set the goal. And we know that really the goal, is it really the goal? But without setting a target, you can't start the process. So our goal was move from E to S. That was the goal. So what did we have to do? We had to start studying. I didn't know really what that would entail, but I just knew I wanted to go from E to S to B to I. Okay, there's the goal. What's the process? Read books, go to seminars, watch events like this, apply the knowledge, find mentors that you can volunteer and you can serve, go to events that you can volunteer. That's what we did. We just became immersed. We became students of it. And it was through this project, our process is where the magic happens. Like, we had no idea that we'd be ended up as Rich Dad advisors speaking with Blair Singer on a super conference like this. I mean, who would have known? But we trusted the process.
And going back, Josh, you said we wanted to go from E to S to B to I, but really initially our goal was just for you to stay sober and our marriage to survive. And how do we do that? Our goal was sobriety. Our goal was keeping our marriage intact. And through that, it was like helping other people.
Yeah, because I knew I couldn't work in the nightclubs being an employee. It was just a matter of time. So to save the marriage is to move out of that quadrant.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because sometimes people go, wow, that's a lot. And, I got properties and 72 beds and multiple locations. I'm not sure. But you know what? We always say that the reward for accomplishing a job is a bigger job, right? Is another mission. And what both of you just alluded to is that you set the goal, whatever the goal is, keep the bigger goal in mind, but set one that you can get to. And what happens, we call it procession, but there's a ripple effect to all that. So you start to meet people, you start to engage with other people, and opportunities show up that you would never expect. But the key is what they stayed focused on the overall goal, which was to be social capitalists, to have a mission to help other people. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I would have thought, it's just on my desk, I'd become a student again, studying these books. I hated school. Now I love knowledge. I love learning. Who would ever thought in that process?
Right.
By just simply setting a goal and starting.
Well, and you're learning something you love. You're not being told what to learn.
Yeah.
So that, that goes from ESBI, you're finding something that you love to do rather than being told what to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So start with the goal, get a plan, find mentors, keep in mind the team, but also keep in mind, you got to be financially literate. Okay, so understanding the financial statement, got to understand, Andy Tanner says it really well. When he looks at any investment or whatever, he's looking at it from either the income statement or from a balance sheet perspective. And that kind of keeps him focused. So you want to speak to that for a little bit, how that plays in?
Yeah, financial education is so important. So one of the tools that we use was Cash Flow 101. We'd play it over and over again. The board game and online. Online is pretty quick, so you can get the brain moving fast, but the board game's good because it can see how your behaviors are and how you interact with people. That's mine, I'm going to hold this deal, or all that stuff comes out. And we started playing it with our executive team because we wanted to raise their financial education as well. So we started sharing it and teaching it. Then we brought it into our programs. We started teaching Cash Flow 101 to our clients. So financial education, really, the tool that we have in front of us is Cash Flow 101. It is an incredible tool to get the brain to start working, because to your point is, when Lisa and I look at a deal, I literally see our personal financial statement in a picture and see where that asset would go, what kind of cash flow it would be, what the expenses are, what would be on the balance sheet, what the liability would be. And that net effect is like, because we played the game through repetition, it starts to pop up. So we took the board game, Cash Flow 101, that financial statement, built it on Excel, and we put our own financials in it. And the first time we did it, it was shocking. It kind of hurt. It was like, oh my gosh, I thought we were doing better than we were because we were using the bank's version of the financial statement, not the rich dad way. It's like, nope, can't put your jewelry on there. Nope. I can't put my guns on there, that kind of stuff.
I'm going to share my screen just for a second so you guys know what they're talking about here.
And this is where financial education is so important. You've got to understand the numbers. You've got to know the cash flow, the in and the out, and your asset and liability. And along with the financial education is also emotional education, because business is a roller coaster ride. And you've got to be able to ride out that wave of emotions as you're starting your business, as you're growing, and as it continues to grow. You've got to know the numbers, and you've got to be able to handle what's put in front of you.
That's an important part, because money can be a drug too. Take it away. Like, how do you know if you're addicted to money? Take away someone's paycheck for 2 weeks. Watch the detox. Watch people squirm. It's like, okay, this thing has power over me. I get it, because you feed your family, there's all that stuff. And then on the opposite is true. Give someone 5,000, 10,000, a million, 10 million. Who they are, like if they haven't worked on themselves, all of that will be amplified. You see that in lottery winners and stuff, how they just go crazy with it. So as you build your net worth, also build your EQ or your emotional intelligence so you can keep it. Otherwise, why work so hard, get all this money, then blow it by doing something stupid? Because it happens. It does. It's just a tool.
It's just a tool, and I was reading some later work by Napoleon Hill recently, and he says that the number one fear, one of the major fears for most human beings, is poverty. Poverty is having no money, because money gives us food, shelter, sustenance, and all that stuff. The second one is fear of what other people think about you, of criticism. I think the third one was fear of ill health. So right now, in the economic times and the pandemic times we're living in, all three are like just pouncing on. So your point about not just financial education, but Lisa, as you said, emotional education is critical. That's why your business is doing so well, because those are people that really, at least they and their families have realized that we've got to get the emotional, mental, spiritual side back together again.
Yeah, what's going to kill our clients first? It's not COVID-19. It's drug and alcohol addiction. Right. You isolate them in a house by themselves and tell them to stay there for quarantine, it's going to kill them. It's a death sentence. They're going to drink themselves to death, and it's happening. Like suicide, depression, drug abuse. I mean, all that stuff is skyrocketing in the States. And I think probably all over the world that have the lockdowns. It is extremely dangerous. So our business, helps address that. And to Lisa's point she mentioned earlier, like we have 60 beds. We're full with 39 guys on the waiting list. It's like, we need to come in. And we stopped marketing months ago because we just couldn't handle the influx. So what we did is we're now at a point where we need to break through and expand more beds in order to serve more people. We've built up, we put our infrastructure in place, we have our systems, our processes, and the BI triangle. Everything's ready to go. Now it's time to expand. Awesome. We just didn't make the jump, to be. It's like we took our time and did it right. That's right.
So that's awesome. So again, if you guys are watching, this is the model. Okay. So, I mean, there are other models, I grant you, but this is the rich dad model. This is the model that we've all learned and we subscribe to. And what I love about Josh and Lisa, and you should grab the book because it's in Spanish, correct?
Yes.
It is.
Because it describes this process. It describes the process in detail, what they went through, their mission. If you're watching this right now, one thing that I'll know about you, that at some level there's an urge to do something bigger or you wouldn't be here. There's an urge to do something that hopefully makes a difference in other people's lives, or you wouldn't be here, and at least to your family's lives. Well, in this day and age, if you understand what Josh and Lisa are talking about, you can help a lot of people and make a lot of money. You guys want to speak to that as we start to wrap this up?
Yeah, so it's really about finding what drives you. What's your why? What are you passionate about? And we talked about, there's purpose and passion is inside of you, something you want to do. purpose is outside of you, something greater than yourself. And for us, it just happened to line up. You know, our passion is sobriety. It's helping not only us, but others. So it's our internal drive is to not only keep our marriage, sanity, and sobriety together, but to help others. And it's finding that why, because that's what's going to drive you in your business, no matter what it is. You need to have that passion, that strong driver. And I didn't say that correctly, but
We got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me is, you know, money is just a tool. It's just an idea. So change your thoughts, change your life. And, you know, if you look at money differently, it's like, hey, money can help me achieve my mission. What is my mission? So you look at, like Lisa's point, look around you. What social problems are there that need to be addressed? I mean, the government needs housing. The government needs food. The government needs clean water and clean air and all of these social services. As an entrepreneur, you can solve those problems. The government can't, but the government is willing to pay for it. So we decided to take on a model where we're solving a social problem and the U.S. government is paying us to do it. So we have one of the biggest customers in the world is the U.S. government. Their checks will not bounce, you know. Now, there's a whole slew of compliance and regulations and stuff that go on with it. That's part of the game. But we were willing to take it on because of the mission. So again, it just, no matter where you're at in the world, look at it from a social entrepreneurial mindset. Take that invisible, make it visible by solving a problem. And you guys can be social entrepreneurs too.
well, and we saw a lot of great changes with some businesses during COVID. You know, unfortunately, COVID shut down a lot of businesses, but we had restaurants that are like, I can get supplies in. So because I can't be open for business for serving food, I'm going to become a general store. And they're selling, you know, stuff that you couldn't get in the store. They had supply chains of, you know, toilet paper, you know, canned goods that ran out in grocery stores. There was a huge supply and demand with getting merchandise to different stores. So people opened up logistics companies, and a whole lot of entrepreneurs changed the way they did business through COVID. And it's another great way of looking at what problem can I solve to help others.
Yeah, this technology of Zoom, what we're doing right now is an example of that. This wouldn't have happened if we weren't kind of pushed into it.
Right.
But I think it's great because you can serve more people. It's brilliant.
That's right. You can serve a lot of people. So, So you guys, thanks. Just to summarize, I mean, as Lisa says, you know, you have a mission, something you're passionate about, and a sense of purpose and a big reason why. And once you get that, you have a mission, create a bit of a plan. Where does it want to go? What goals do you want to solve? Find a mentor that's already doing it. Go to the seminars, read the books, follow the BI triangle, and whatever. And there'll be a lot of gaps in what you don't know. A lot of gaps. There's more that you don't know than you do know, but that's good. And as Josh said, he wasn't a great fan of school. Neither was I. Maybe none of you. But now he reads more now than probably his teachers ever read in school. Why? Because it feeds the mission. And right now in the world, there's more things that need to be done than ever before. Just take a look around. Just don't let fear or lack of knowledge be your excuse, because there are no excuses. And there's, you know, these guys are a great source. Rich Dad's a great source. This whole conference and all the speakers are great sources, and immerse yourself in it. Any final words you guys want to say to these guys?
Well, just thank you for having us, and get into action. What's one thing you can do today to start to move forward? We all go to seminars, we all learn. You know, some may be great seminars, some not so great, but you can always take away one thing to put into action. And that's how you reach that goal through that process, is just getting into action. Yeah,
so the final thought is there's a thing called Pareto's Law, 80-20. And I have to go into it too deep, but essentially if there's 100% of the people watching, 80% of the people may not do anything with this. So it's like, okay, that was good information, move on. But 20% of you will actually do something about it. Be that 20%. Be that outlier that says, you know what? I'm committed to changing my life. I'm committed to building a better life for myself, for my family, for my community. Get off your ass and get out there and do it. Be the change.
Well said. Well said. Well, thanks you guys, and congratulations on the success of the business. Congratulations on being great role models, not only to all of us, to your kids, to your community, to you guys have basically become the biggest employer of the community you guys live in.
We are. Yeah.
I know it's so that's amazing. And again, if you want more information, pick up their book, Social Capitalist. And again, it'll be an inspired read. Be the 20%, like Josh says. Be the 20% and do something with it, because there's a whole world waiting. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you, Rosanna.
Thank you.
Espero que te haya gustado muchísimo este video y no te olvides de suscribirte y activar las notificaciones. Deja tus comentarios o preguntas porque me encanta leerlos y contestarlos. Todos. Que Dios te cuide.